Sign the papers, she said, not even a pause. Just that, like it was a utility bill. I was on my back under the garage door motor, socket wrench in hand, grease on my knuckles, fixing something she'd asked me to fix 3 times this week. 6:12 p.m., Thursday. She stood in the doorway wearing heels and lip gloss, hair blown out like she was headed somewhere expensive. His name's Grant. He's a real man. You were just comfort. She didn't blink. I didn't either. Just slid out from under the track, stood up slow, and wiped my hands on the towel that still had last month's paint on it. Comfort, I repeated, like a couch? If that helps you understand. And then she set the divorce packet on the workbench, all neat, highlighted tabs, signature stickers. If you're following along, hit subscribe. Honestly helps the team keep these stories coming. I thumbed through the pages. She'd already signed everything: property division, bank accounts, custody of the dog. Only thing missing was mine. All right, I said, signed it on the workbench like I was initialing a damn grocery list. You're not going to ask for anything? She said, suddenly unsure. I already took care of myself, I said. You just didn't notice. That landed. She hesitated like she was trying to do math in her head. Then she gave this little smirk, like I'd just made it easier for her. Good, she said, because Grant and I are moving into the house, tomorrow. I looked at her, then at the house behind her. The kitchen light was on, the drawer still stuck when you pulled it too fast. You do what you need to, I said. She kissed the envelope, handed it to me, and walked off in her red heels, clicking across the driveway like she was stepping over a corpse. I watched her drive off in the SUV I paid for. License plate still said, "Ours today." Inside the folder was a sticky note from her attorney. Thank you for making this smooth. Best of luck. I sat back on the workbench, lit a cigarette I'd quit months ago, and looked over at the small black box duct taped to the beam above the garage door rail, the one labeled "Trust Documents Do Not Remove." She never asked what it was. She never cared to look, but she should have, because that little box was the reason Grant was about to inherit a nightmare, and I wasn't going to say a word. The lawyer's office was beige, airless, and reeked of citrus cleaning spray trying to cover up rot. I was there 10 minutes early. Blue shirt, clean shave, no expression. Just sat in the corner chair flipping through an old copy of Forbes like I gave a damn about the top 40 under 40. She arrived 2 minutes late, floating in on faux confidence and some new perfume that smelled like regret in a bottle. Grant walked in behind her. I recognized him from the gym, the guy who lifted with gloves on, aviators indoors, thick watch he probably financed. He looked around like he expected cameras, then locked eyes with me and smiled like he'd won something. Hey, he said, reaching out. No hard feelings, man. Respect. I shook his hand, firm, one shake. Take care of her. I will, he grinned. Already did, I said, and turned to the receptionist. We done here? She blinked, startled. Yes, sir. You're free to go. Didn't even look back when I left. Just walked past them as they sat there, trying to pretend this was some evolved, mature transition, like they were moving from one conference room to another. 2 hours later, he posted a selfie in the entryway of what he thought was his new kingdom. Same foyer I designed, down to the custom tiling we argued over for weeks. Caption, "Fresh start, new home, new life." Her comment right under it, "Finally where I belong." I didn't like the post. I didn't comment. I just took a screenshot. Then another of the location tag. Back home, I opened the small black box from the garage beam. Inside, 1 USB drive, 3 notarized originals, and a copy of the joint irrevocable trust, the one she signed 3 years ago when we refinanced, the trust that held the deed, the one that required both our certified signatures to sell or transfer. Funny how she always rolled her eyes at paperwork. Just sign where they tell you, she'd say. I never did. Her lawyer had emailed me once about dissolving the trust. I replied, happy to discuss once all terms are reviewed, then never followed up. The house was still in limbo. No recorded release, no executed quitclaim. She gave it to Grant like it was a dinner plate. Meanwhile, I scheduled a meeting with my own attorney for Monday, sent over PDFs, got a call back 20 minutes later. You're sitting on a gold mine, he said. Want to go gentle or make it hurt? Let's start with a letter, I said, just enough to rattle the windows. While Grant was popping champagne, I was finalizing the draft. While she was fluffing pillows, I was reviewing Clause 8C. Unauthorized occupancy during unresolved title conditions shall constitute grounds for damages. They thought I walked away. I didn't. I just moved to the other side of the chessboard. Just get it done before he notices. That's what she told the paralegal at the closing office. They thought they were slick, rush the final filings, breeze past the checklist, slap a few electronic signatures on PDFs and call it a day. But there's one thing they forgot. I don't do sloppy, especially not with the house I built. I mean that literally. I laid the brick path in the backyard myself. I fought for that kitchen island. She wanted marble. I went with quartz because marble stains and I knew she wouldn't clean it. The house wasn't just property, it was planned, from the lot to the loan structure. And when we refinanced 3 years ago, her credit wasn't strong enough, so we put it under a joint irrevocable trust. My idea, my attorney, my terms. She didn't read it, she just signed. And that trust requires both parties' certified signatures for any sale or transfer. Anything less, and the whole transaction is null. I withheld mine, quietly, intentionally. There's a line on the transfer form for final initials after legal review. Mine, blank. But she thought since I signed the divorce papers like a docile little house pet, I must have rolled over everywhere else too. That's what comfort does, right? It doesn't bite. She didn't check the record of sale, didn't request the certified trust termination. She thought the closing had gone through because the buyer, her new boyfriend, walked away with a glass of champagne and a house key. What he really walked into was an unresolved title. No lender, no insurer, no release. Meanwhile, back at my attorney's office, we were drafting what he called a soft incursion. Start with a title inquiry, he said. Let's give them a week to panic. Grant was posting TikToks from the living room. Investment property #1, he said, panning over the built-ins I installed myself during lockdown. She commented, our forever home. They had no clue they were squatting in a legal purgatory. I printed the title report and stuck it on my fridge with a magnet that said, World's Okayest Husband. She bought it for me 3 Christmases ago. The irony tasted better than any revenge plan ever could. She thought I didn't care. What she didn't get was, I cared enough to plan. And she was about to find out what a forgotten signature actually costs. He changed the locks on Sunday. Not that he needed to. I wasn't coming back. But he wanted a statement. Fresh start, new keys, new ego trip. I saw the footage. My neighbor across the street has a Ring camera pointed right at our, driveway. He sent me the clip without asking. Just thought you'd want to see what moved in, he texted. In the video, Grant's carrying a leather chair under one arm like a damn catalog model, sunglasses on, tank top, probably blasting Drake from the open car doors. Inside, they were already repainting, pale gray over the cedar green I fought for. New furniture delivery trucks lined the curb, all paid for by someone who didn't even know what the property zoning class was. That Friday, they hosted a party. I counted 4 Range Rovers, 2 Teslas, and a Maserati in the driveway. I recognized 3 of the guests, used to be our couple friends. Guess loyalty doesn't come with a warranty. Grant live-streamed the party on Instagram. New crib, new queen, we out here. She was in the background, champagne flute in hand, fake laughing at something. No more dead weight, she whispered to one of the girls before leaning in and kissing him full on like a trophy ceremony. People clapped. Someone popped another bottle. The comments rolled in. Power couple. Level up, sis. He's fine, girl. They had no clue. While they popped corks, I sat across from my attorney in a quiet second-floor office above a bakery. No windows, just the faint smell of burnt sugar and something old. He flipped through the trust documents, the title report, and a set of photos I printed from the Ring footage. The moment they changed the locks, I said, pointing. That's our line. He nodded slowly. That's when it shifts from civil to actionable. We can file Monday. Include the post, I added, pulling out a screenshot of Grant's live stream. He says new crib. Make sure the judge sees that. Let's go quiet first, the attorney said. Letter of notice, then title claim, then damages. He looked up at me, pen in hand. You sure you want to do this? I looked at the stack of documents between us. All legal, all clean, all mine. She gave him my house, I said. He turned it into a content set. The lawyer just smiled. Let's ruin their Monday. And that's the thing they never saw coming. While they celebrated like the deed was a dream come true, I was filing the nightmare they never bothered to read. The letter came on a Tuesday. Thick envelope, heavy stock, no logo, just a plain typewritten return address. Law offices of Wexler and Dunn. Grant opened it in the kitchen, mid-smoothie, shirtless, smug, still high off their weekend trip to Vail. He read the subject line aloud like it was a joke. Illegal occupancy of contested property. Then he laughed, loud. Babe, he called out, your ex is trying to scare me with lawyer mail. Cute. She walked in wrapped in a towel, wet hair dripping, took the letter from him with a little eye roll, skimmed the first paragraph, then stopped. Wait, what is this? She muttered. Exactly what it looks like, he grinned. He's salty and broke, probably mad we're living in his crusty man cave. She didn't smile. She read it again. This says the property title is under unresolved legal trust pending review. So? Grant said, popping blueberries into his mouth. It's your house, right? She didn't answer. Wednesday, another envelope arrived, this one from the county clerk's office. Inside, official notice of pending court appearance. Date, 2 weeks out. Subject, property title dispute. Case reference, Lockwood versus Parker et al. She didn't laugh. She didn't even sit down. Just stood there in the foyer, rereading the summons in silence. You said it was yours outright, Grant said, slower now. Like, clean title. You told me you gave it to me. I thought I had it. I filed the documents. I signed everything, she said, more to herself than to him. Grant raised an eyebrow. But was it transferred legally? Like, were the signatures certified? I don't know, Grant. I thought it was done, she snapped. He took a step back. You thought? You didn't check? She was already digging through drawers, yanking out folders, receipts, scans, old keys, nothing useful. He stood in the hallway, arms folded. Tell me you didn't just move me into a lawsuit. I didn't mean to, she barked, flipping through an envelope labeled Closing Do Not Lose. The original trust wasn't there, no signature pages. What the hell does contested occupancy even mean? She asked, eyes wide now. It means, he said slowly, we don't own this house. Thursday morning, I got a text from my attorney. Notice is delivered. Watch the social media tone shift. Sure enough, Grant's Instagram was quiet. No new posts, no house tours, just one story. A black screen with the caption, "Some people are just bitter AF." She posted nothing. The silence was louder than any toast, any kiss, any champagne pop, because that's when fantasy starts to crack. When you realize the wallpaper's peeling and there's mold behind the walls, and the man you called just comfort, he's the one pulling the bricks loose from beneath your feet. The meeting wasn't dramatic. No shouting, no slamming of doors, just a quiet room with 3 chairs, a jug of water, and a lawyer who'd stopped pretending to be polite. She sat on one side, posture stiff, makeup a little heavier than usual. Grant sat next to her, arms crossed, jaw clenched. He hadn't spoken since they walked in. I came in last. No folder, just one document already printed. Her lawyer cleared his throat. There seems to be a discrepancy regarding the house's legal ownership. Discrepancy? I said, sitting down. Let's not dress it up. I slid the deed across the table. The original, unmodified, still in the joint irrevocable trust. Grant leaned forward. Wait, that's the real deed? Yep, I said. Pulled from my safe this morning, never transferred, no signatures past 2020. Her face didn't move for a second. Then, that's impossible. I submitted the closing documents. I signed everything. You did, I nodded. Just not what mattered. Her lawyer looked like he'd swallowed a stapler. Miss Parker, I asked you specifically, did you get Mr. Lockwood's certified signature for the trust dissolution? I told you he signed everything, she snapped. I signed the divorce, I cut in. I signed over my half of the stocks, my half of the savings, even the damn dog. But not the trust, her lawyer muttered, eyes now scanning the deed. Clause 12A, irrevocable unless jointly certified. She yanked the document toward her, read it, then read it again. Her lips moved as she whispered the line under her breath. Grant exhaled sharply. So all this time, we've been living in a house that's still his? Not just mine, I said. It's not anyone's. It's stuck, frozen. You've been pouring money into renovations, upgrades, parties, all uncontested property. I trusted you, Grant hissed, turning to her. She ignored him. So what, you just waited, sat on this? No, I said. I gave you a chance. You wanted a clean break. I signed the divorce without blinking, but then you handed my house to your boy toy like it was a set of old dishes. Her voice cracked. I didn't think you'd fight me. I didn't, I said, standing up. This isn't a fight. This is just gravity doing what it does. Grant stood too. What happens now? Now? I looked at him, then at her. You leave or you pay. Her lawyer muttered. We'll review our options. There aren't many, I said, heading for the door. You're either trespassing or settling. Behind me, I heard the papers shuffle again. Her rereading the clause, like it might say something different if she stared hard enough. But it didn't, because the truth wasn't hidden. She just ignored it. And now the house, the one with her name on the welcome mat, was about to be the most expensive mistake she ever made. Court was set for 9:30 a.m. They arrived at 9:42. Grant walked in like he owned the place. Crisp navy suit, pocket square, fake Rolex catching the overhead lights. He gave a half wave to someone who wasn't waving at him, then leaned into her and whispered something that made her fake a laugh. She wore a cream blazer, hair tight in a bun, lips red like defiance. On the outside, she looked calm, but I saw the tremble in her fingers when she reached for her phone. I was already seated. No suit, just a gray button-down, slacks, and a plain manila folder marked revocation and reassignment. The judge, a woman in her 60s with a reputation for zero tolerance and zero patience, shuffled through her papers, glanced at both counsel, then at me. "Mr. Lockwood, you're the petitioner. Begin." My attorney stood. "We're here regarding unauthorized transfer and occupation of a residential property currently held in a joint irrevocable trust. The defendants acted as though the trust had been dissolved, which it had not. No formal release, no certification, no court approval. We have documentation." The judge raised an eyebrow and turned to them. "Do you dispute this?" Her lawyer stood, clearing his throat. "There was a misunderstanding regarding the transfer process. My client believed—" The judge cut him off with one sentence. "Was the property lawfully transferred?" Dead silence. Grant started to speak, something about equitable interest, but her lawyer put a hand on his arm. She sat frozen, eyes on her lap. The judge leaned back. "Let me rephrase. Do you have a signed, certified release of trust and recorded transfer showing clean title?" No one spoke. The judge looked back at me. "You have documentation?" I slid the folder across to my attorney. He opened it carefully. 3 copies of the original trust agreement, highlighted clauses, a letter of intent dated 2 years prior, a full audit of the title. "Clause 12A, my lawyer said, irrevocable unless jointly certified. Mr. Lockwood never signed off. The deed remains legally bound to the trust. Therefore, the transfer to Mr. Grant was fraudulent by omission." The judge flipped to the clause. "Read it slowly. Do you wish to press for damages?" "We'll settle privately," my attorney replied, "assuming they vacate." She looked up for the first time. Her voice cracked. "But the renovations, we paid." The judge didn't blink. "You paid into a house that wasn't yours." Grant stood, red-faced. "This is ridiculous. I live there. I changed the locks." The judge snapped her gavel once. "Then you may want to change them back." Court adjourned. I didn't gloat, didn't smile, just gathered my folder and walked out. Behind me, I heard her whisper something sharp to Grant. He cursed under his breath. But that folder, that boring, beige, quiet folder, spoke louder than either of them ever could, because it didn't need emotion. It didn't need revenge. It just needed a signature they never got. They didn't even make it to their car. Grant's voice exploded in the parking lot, echoing off the courthouse walls like a car crash you could hear but not see. "You told me this house was yours!" He was pacing now, blazer off, tie crooked, one hand gripping the bridge of his nose like he could hold in the migraine. She tried to shush him, scanning for witnesses, but people were already watching. A woman in a Prius rolled her window down. A man across the street stopped mid-step. "It was supposed to be mine," she hissed, teeth clenched. "He was never supposed to challenge it." "You lied to me," he snapped, eyes wide. "You said the paperwork was done, the transfer was clean, the house was yours outright." "It was going to be. He didn't care. He signed the divorce. He didn't even fight. How was I supposed to know he'd—" "Because your lawyer told you," Grant shouted, finger pointed inches from her face. "You ignored it. You buried it." She shoved his hand away. "Don't turn this on me. You wanted the house. You wanted the life. You wanted the party posts and the champagne. And you told the bank it was a done deal." That stopped her, cold. He stared at her. "You forged that line, didn't you? On the second mortgage form. The one that said sole owner with authority to remodel." She didn't answer. "That's why title insurance is pulling out," he muttered, more to himself than her. "That's why the lender's freezing the disbursement." A week ago, they were sipping wine on that patio, talking about flipping it in a year and buying a lake house. Now they were yelling in front of strangers, drowning in paperwork and accusations. "They're saying I committed fraud," Grant said, chest rising. "I could lose my license over this, you realize that?" She crossed her arms. "So leave then. Go back to your condo. Crawl back to your ex. I don't care." He took a step forward. "You don't care?" he said, voice quiet now, deadly. "You think I'm sticking around to pay for your mistake?" She turned her back to him, pulled her phone from her bag. "I'll handle it." "No," he said, walking backward toward the sidewalk. "You won't." That night, I got a notification from the title agency. Their system flagged an activity request, attempt to revise the deed. Again, I didn't need to act. The damage was already snowballing. One missed signature had metastasized into lender freezes, insurance audits, and fraud investigations. I didn't have to raise my voice. I just had to wait long enough for their perfect little world to start yelling at itself. The email hit her inbox at 3:14 p.m. Subject line: settlement proposal, Lockwood Trust. No long explanations, no drawn-out threats. Just one paragraph from my attorney. The trust remains intact. We are willing to drop the suit if the defendants vacate the premises within 72 hours and agree to pay damages as outlined in the enclosed itemization. Otherwise, we proceed. She didn't reply. 5 minutes later, she forwarded it to Grant. He didn't reply either, so she called. I imagine it rang a while. By 5 p.m., they were screaming again. My neighbor across the street said it started in the driveway and ended in the living room. "You told me you'd fix this," Grant yelled. "I'm trying," she barked back. "I emailed the lawyer. I left 2 voicemails." He held up his phone. "You think he's going to negotiate now? After you faked paperwork, lied about ownership, dragged me into court, and made me sign mortgage documents on a house you didn't even own? You didn't have to sign them. You begged me to." Then, silence. A slap. Loud enough that even the neighbor 2 houses down heard it. The porch light flicked off. His car peeled out of the driveway 20 minutes later. She was alone on the curb, barefoot, holding her phone, mascara smudged like a child's drawing. I didn't watch. I didn't need to. I had the confirmation email. The locksmith I hired back in February, the one I quietly kept on retainer, sent me a single photo that night at 10:47 p.m. The front door, new handle, new lock. Inside, the walls were still gray. The champagne flute still sat on the counter, but the keys had changed hands. She tried one last time the next morning. A third email to my attorney. "Surely we can reduce the damages figure. I believe this is still resolvable with mutual civility." We didn't reply. That silence, it was surgical, cold, the exact opposite of how she described me when she left. Passive, small, boring. But boring men read the fine print. Boring men retain lawyers quietly. Boring men don't need to scream in driveways. They just wait for the locks to change back. And when the last light flickers off, when the guests are gone and the curtains are pulled and your new life collapses into voicemail trails and unpaid legal bills, that's when you realize the man you mocked for being comfortable was also the man you never understood. It was a Tuesday. Again. Grant opened his door to a man in a gray blazer, badge clipped to his belt, holding a thick envelope that smelled like copier toner and finality. "Mr. Grant Wells?" He nodded, bleary-eyed, shirt wrinkled, jaw stubbled. "From the county registrar's legal affairs office, you're being served." Grant took the envelope like it weighed 20 pounds, slid his thumb under the seal and skimmed the first page. Notice of title conflict, civil claim, fraudulent occupancy, named damages, $148,672.47. There was a second envelope, different logo, this one from the title insurance provider, policy nullified due to material misrepresentation by occupant. His knees nearly gave. He didn't call her, didn't scream, just drove. I heard his car before I saw him, tires crunching slow over the gravel. Same tires I replaced 2 years ago when she said she couldn't afford the run flats. He knocked twice. I opened the door, said nothing. He looked like he hadn't slept in days, hair messy, collar bent, fingers shaking. "You knew," he said quietly. "The whole time. You planned this." I looked at him, didn't smile, didn't blink. "You bought a house she couldn't sell," I said. "Enjoy the lawsuit." And I closed the door. Behind it, silence. Not triumph, not gloating, just the soft click of a lock re-engaging. I walked back to the kitchen, sat down, took a sip of black coffee, no cream, no sugar. Outside the window, the movers were already at it, packing up what wasn't theirs, lifting boxes of furniture they didn't pick, wrapping the same art she once said never really matched the room. She wasn't there, neither was he, just me, the house, and the sound of closure. Because in the end, I didn't need to win a war. I just needed to wait. And now, I sit in the home she tried to give away, not as revenge, as proof that some men don't roar, they file.